So we've talked about why we need Salesforce and how to set up users. What's next?
Now comes the fun part, making it your own.
Ooh, customization.
Exactly. This is where we fine-tune things to fit how your business actually works.
I like the sound of that. Where do we start?
The guide calls it fine-tune pre-existing features. It's about taking those standard objects and fields, the ones we talked about earlier, and making them, well, more you.
So we don't have to stick with the default settings.
Nope. You can change labels, rearrange things, basically make it feel like home.
Okay, that makes sense. But can you give me an example, like a real-world example?
Sure. Let's say your company calls customers clients. Instead of accounts, you could rename that whole object to clients.
I see. So it matches our terminology.
Right. And you can do the same thing with fields. Like if you prefer company name instead of account name, you can change that too.
Wow, so we can really personalize it. Does that update everywhere in the system?
It does, yeah. But you got to be careful if you've already created reports or dashboards. You'll need to update those too.
Good point. Don't want to break anything.
Exactly. So renaming is one thing. But you can also customize pick lists, those drop-down menus.
Oh, right, pick lists. I remember those.
So let's say the standard options for lead source don't really work for you. You can change those to match your specific categories.
That's useful. So if most of our leads come from, say, referrals, we could just add a referrals option to the pick list.
Exactly. It's all about making it work for you.
I'm all for that. Now, what about tracking changes? If someone accidentally messes up a field or something.
Good point. You'd want to know who did what, right?
Yeah, for accountability.
Well, the guide talks about this feature called log changes to your data.
Okay, what does that do?
Basically, it tracks any changes made to important fields. Like if someone changes the status of an opportunity, it'll get logged.
Oh, that's handy. So we have a record of everything.
Exactly. It's like a history log for your data.
I like that. What else can we customize?
Well, you can customize page layouts, too, to control what users see.
Wait, so we can hide certain fields from certain users?
Yep, that's right. If a sales rep doesn't need to see all the financial details of a client, you can just, remove those fields from their view.
So it keeps things clean and organized.
Exactly. It's all about streamlining the user experience.
I'm starting to see how powerful this is. But now, now comes the part I'm not looking forward to. Data import.
Yeah, I get it. It can be a bit daunting.
Especially since we have so much data in our old system.
Well, the good news is Salesforce has tools to help. For smaller data sets, they recommend the Data Import Wizard.
Okay, what's considered a smaller data set?
The guide says it can handle up to 50,000 records.
Oh, wow, that's still a lot of data.
It is, yeah. But for larger companies, there are other tools, like the Data Loader.
But for us, the Data Import Wizard should be fine.
Most likely, yeah. But before we import anything, we need to clean our data.
Clean our data? You mean like dust it off?
Not quite. It's about making sure it's accurate and consistent.
Oh, I see. So no duplicates, no typos, all that good stuff.
Exactly. It's much easier to clean it now than to fix it later.
That's true. Garbage in, garbage out, as they say.
Right. So once our data is clean, the next step is to map our fields to the corresponding fields in Salesforce.
Mapping, like with a map.
Not exactly. It's about telling Salesforce where to put each piece of data.
Oh, okay. So if we have a field called company name in our old system, we need to map it to the account name field in Salesforce.
Exactly. It's like giving each piece of data a specific address in its new home.
That's a good way to put it. Any tips for this mapping process?
The guide suggests using Excel to modify the column headers in your export file. It can make things a lot easier.
Woo! Another spreadsheet trick. I'll have to try that.
Once the mapping is done, it's time to test the import.
Test it? Why do we need to test it?
To make sure everything is working properly. That the data is going to the right places.
Ah, that's smart. So we don't accidentally mess up our entire Salesforce org.
Right. It's always better to be safe than sorry.
Once the test is done, we can import the rest of our data.
That's right. And then, congrats, your Salesforce org is officially up and running.
That's a big milestone.
It is, yeah. But the journey doesn't end there. Now it's time to actually use that data to gain insights.
Oh, right. Reports and dashboards. I almost forgot about those.
Those are important tools.
Can you remind me, what's the difference between a report and a dashboard again?
A report is like a detailed list of data. Think of it like a spreadsheet.
Okay, so it shows us the raw data.
Right, and you can filter and sort the data to find what you're looking for.
And a dashboard?
A dashboard is a visual representation of your report data. It uses charts and graphs to show you the big picture.
Ah, I see. So it's more about visualizing trends and patterns.
Exactly. It's like a summary of your key metrics.
Okay, that makes sense. So how do we create these reports and dashboards?
Salesforce makes it pretty easy. They even have pre-built reports and dashboards that you can use as a starting point.
Oh, wow, that's great. Saves us some work.
It does, yeah. But you can always customize them to fit your needs.
And if we get stuck, the guide mentions an online tutorial called Get Started with Reports and Dashboards.
That's a great resource. I highly recommend checking it out.
Will do. Okay, so we've covered importing data, and now we know how to create reports and dashboards. What's next?
The final step is to roll out Salesforce to your team. It's showtime.
Showtime, as in we're ready to go live.
Yep, that's right. But before you do, there are a few things to keep in mind.
Like what?
Well, communication is key. Make sure everyone knows when Salesforce is going live and what to expect.
So no surprises.
Right. And you'll need to provide training to your team. Make sure they know how to use Salesforce and how it'll help them do their jobs better.
Okay, training is important. Anything else?
The guide also suggests providing ongoing support, like, creating some internal documentation or having regular Q&A sessions.
Good idea. We don't want to leave our team stranded.
Exactly. It's all about making the transition as smooth as possible.
I'm feeling much more confident about this whole Salesforce thing now.
That's great to hear. You're well on your way to becoming a Salesforce pro.
Wow, we've learned so much about Salesforce.
We have, yeah.
From setting up users to importing data, it's been quite the journey.
It has. But, the journey doesn't end there.
What do you mean?
Well, Salesforce is constantly evolving. They're always rolling out new features and improvements.
So it's not a set it and forget it kind of thing.
Exactly. It's a living, breathing platform.
How often do they release updates?
3 times a year,
Mm-hmm.
every spring, summer, and winter.
Oh, wow. That's pretty frequent.
It is, but it's a good thing. It means you're always getting the latest and greatest.
How do we keep up with all these updates?
Salesforce publishes detailed release notes with every update. They explain everything that's changed.
Okay, so we should definitely be reading those.
Absolutely. It's like getting a sneak peek into the future of Salesforce.
I like that. Any other advice for us as we continue on this Salesforce journey?
Yeah, one thing I always tell people is to start small. You don't have to implement every single feature right away.
That's a relief.
Just focus on the core functionality that will bring you the most value, and then you can build from there.
Okay, so don't try to do everything at once.
Right. And don't be afraid to experiment and customize as you go. Salesforce is really flexible.
I'm starting to get excited about this. At first, I was intimidated, but now I see how powerful Salesforce can be.
That's the spirit. It's all about finding what works best for you.
So before we wrap up, is there any final thought you want to leave our listeners with? Something to ponder as they embark on their own Salesforce adventures?
I'd say think about what reports and dashboards will be the most valuable to you. What questions do you need answered? What metrics will help you measure success?
That's a great point. Don't just create reports for the sake of creating reports. Create reports that will actually help you make better decisions.
Exactly. It's all about turning data into actionable insights.
I love it. Data into action. That's a great way to put it. Well, I think that's about all the time we have for today.
It's been fun.
It has. Thanks for guiding us through this Salesforce deep dive. I feel like I've learned a ton.
Glad to hear it.
And to our listeners, thank you for joining us. We hope you found this helpful. Until next time, happy Salesforcing.
See you next time.